I'm Cydney Cooper, Interim Communications Director for the City of Pittsburgh.
And I'm Olga George, Mayor at Gainey's Press Secretary and for the City of Pittsburgh.
Thank you for joining us as we sit down for a special conversation with the 61st Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh, Mayor Ed Gainey.
During this time, we will have a conversation with the mayor that reflects on his accomplishments, challenges, and lessons learned during his time in office.
This is your chance to hear directly from the mayor in his own words about the people, the purpose, and the work that defined his time leading the city. I'm excited about this conversation. Mayor, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I'm going to take us back, way back for just a second, all the way back to the beginning. Can you tell me, what was the primary goal when you decided to run for mayor for the city of Pittsburgh?
Primary goal when I decided to run for mayor was I wanted to build a city that was more inclusive, a city that we could bring everybody together. For so long, our city had been segregated. You could tell by zip code where people live. You know, the fact that we never had a middle-class neighborhood that was Black or Latino was always a concern to me. The fact that at the end of the day, a lot of people felt like they could be viewed here but couldn't be seen here was an issue for me. The fact that we were all Pittsburghers but didn't treat each other like Pittsburghers was an issue. And those are all things that I believe that we could build a bridge to be able to make people more accepting of one another. So to me, it was about how do you use core city services in order to improve the overall quality of life, to make people see that we have more in common than we have that's different. And that was really the beginning of me running.
Now, you talked about the beginning. You're coming now to the end. What lessons have you learned since being in office?
What lessons have I learned since being in office? That's a very, very big question. There's no question. You know, the one lesson that I must admit that I learned is patience. Just being patient to be able to see the bigger picture, to not get caught up in the urgency or the emergency of the moment, but to have patience to understand that, you know, before I told my team this, I had to do it myself. I had to fall in love with adversity. Because at the end of the day, this job is all about adversity and your ability to navigate that. And the reason why you need so much patience is because you have to go through a process before you can fix anything. So for me, it was about how patient could I become in order to learn the lessons that I had to learn. The second thing is I used to come in every day with a mindset that I don't know anything. In order to be a great leader, you have to be a great student. And every day, this city will teach you lessons that if your mind and heart is not open, you will not learn. So to me, I would come in every day, not betting on what I knew yesterday, but ready and focused to be able to learn what I needed to learn today to help improve the overall quality of life in this city. So the two lessons that I would say were the biggest for me was one, patience. You gotta have patience in this job because everything is high speed. Everybody wants to move high speed. But if you run with the crowd, then you can never be a leader of the time. The time is how do we come together in order to break things down to root cause, to be able to build up solutions that get us to an answer. And that takes patience because you have to really be able to see a lot of what's going on, talk to your frontline workers, make sure your lieutenants are ready to go. That's patience. And then just the ability to learn. You can't, you know, every day you come to work, particularly if you work for the city, there's the ability to learn something new every single day, particularly if you on the fifth floor. You can learn something if your mind is open. If you're not married to the way we used to do it, but you want to birth something new, then every day you come to work, your ability to learn is there. The greater the learner, the greater the student, the greater the leader.
Now, you worked under two previous mayors. Staying in the realm of lessons learned, what lessons learned under those two mayors that to do or not to do that you brought into your term here?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say what not to do because I never focused on what they did that was negative. They're not me, so I don't need their behavior, right? What I needed from them is how they was able to get things accomplished and be accepted. So my first mayor was Murphy, and I had a boss named Tom Cox that was no nonsense. And Tom was always a student. Tom was always studying. Tom was always looking forward. And when you went in front of Tom, you better have all your materials together, or it was going to be a difficult hour for you in that office. And so it taught me how to be a student, not just to study what I needed to study, but study beyond what I needed to study. To know not only the main topics that I needed to have, but also the auxiliary topics that I needed to have, so that once we had conversations about how to fix certain situations, even when we went out the scope of what I was there for, I was still able to learn and communicate and ask the type of questions that provides wisdom. So that's where the whole idea of being a student of politics came in at, because I knew that I had one of the best teachers because he was no nonsense. So when you know you're going to see someone that's no nonsense, your mental cap is already on. You want to make sure when you get there that you know everything you're supposed to know. You want to make sure when you get there that you're ready and prepared to ask any questions that you need to ask to help you get to the next level. That's being a student. I learned how to become a better student under Tom Cox because of just the way he was. You had to know your material. With Mayor Ravenstahl, with Luke, it was more he was charismatic. Luke was very charismatic. I mean, Luke could walk in the room and you couldn't help but notice he was in the room. I don't care what room you put Luke in, Mayor Ravenstahl in, at the end of the day, you knew that Mayor Ravenstahl was in the room. And every mayor doesn't have that. And so when I was with Luke, when I was with Mayor Ravenstahl, I used to always see how he would walk in the room and the whole room would see him immediately. And I used to be like, wow, that's a lot of charm that he got, a lot of ways that he could walk in a room and just take command of a room. And so what I got from Luke was how to be charismatic, because I believe that the more you walk in a room and you're charismatic and you know what you know, the information that you have, and you're ready to go, the more prepared you are, the more you can excel. The other thing is I didn't want to be a mayor that just did plans. There's been so many mayors, they do a whole lot of plans, but the plans stay on the shelf, they never get executed. You know, I didn't come from the world of academia, so I was not one that was going to be set up just to create a plan to set on the shelf. I believe that you have to execute the plan to a point that people can see the difference that's being made.
Okay. Absolutely, sir. And execute we did. You challenged us a lot as a team, and we were able to get a lot of work done. What are some of the accomplishments that you're most proud of?
Wow, let's start when I began, right? You know, morale was big for me because when I first came on, Department of Public Works, Pittsburgh Police Department, Bureau, the morale was so low. We had 21% of our workforce on DPW, Department of Public Works, wasn't even coming to work. And so when you have employees that are demoralized in their position, they don't do the work, they don't give you their all. So watching how we improve the overall quality in the Department of Public Works, to me, was amazing. And all you got to do is look at the numbers. The numbers suggest that workers' comp went down tremendously under our administration. Less people in Department of Public Works was being hurt or getting injured. Where they needed things like boots, we were able to get them boots because they hadn't because there was such a disinvestment in public works for so long. We invested $40 million over our tenure to be able to get new fleets and things of that sort. So we did what was necessary in order to help, but we were so behind because they had not been invested in quite some time. Then the second thing was just the bridge collapsing. I've been in the city for 55 years and never seen a bridge collapse. So the bridge collapsed and the work that came out of that. One, getting the bridge up in record time. That was amazing. Two was creating the bridge asset management program to be able to talk about how we inspect our bridges and how we fix our bridges. And as of today, we don't have no bridge that's in failing condition. Homicides, when I came in, my first year homicides was 71, and that's just one too many. There's no safe city if your homicide rate is that high. And we brought homicides down to 42, and this year right now, we're going to break that record. So every year that we've been in office, we've been able to reduce homicides. We used the county's needs, high risk or high needs assessment, and we overlaid that to where the homicides was happening, and that's where we put our resources. From the Stop the Violence Trust to we stopped over-policing in communities, because for so long we were over policing in black and brown communities, and it wasn't changing the overall outcome. They were still homicides there. But when we started doing more of the COPS program, community-oriented police, what you've seen was trust being built in communities where we know the fracture of that trust. So we started getting more leads, and if you talk to the police, they'll tell you that they started getting, the more leads they got, the more arrests they were able to make. Sooner or later, you've seen a reduction in homicide. Investing in organizations that can turn young boys and girls into men and women was a major factor. So not just going the political route, but going the humanitarian route by making sure we invest in the fabric of neighborhoods that actually had a track record of making children grow up. That was critical. You hear me say all the time, I grew up with a lot of people. I knew they grew old, but I can name the ones that grew up. I want children to have an opportunity to grow up, and you have to be exposed to a higher quality of life. The fact that we don't have a black or Latino middle class community here, the only thing that those kids are exposed to is poverty. And when you're exposed to poverty every single day, then respect becomes different. It's not about how much you grow, it's how much respect you have on these streets. And that could be detrimental to the growth of people. Right. And so when we invested our resources in that neighborhood, when you talk about Vision Zero, when we talk about what we've done there, let's look at Homewood, for instance. We have more traffic safety procedures in Homewood than ever before. And so that's what it was about. How do we make communities more safe? Our sidewalks program, where we own the sidewalks, we went in and did them in certain neighborhoods. We did them in Homewood, we did it in Sheridan, we did it in Arlington. We did it in communities to be able to demonstrate a difference. So everything that we did was about safety. And the more that we provided safety to our communities, the more we made them communities feel welcome. How do we know? Because homicides are down.
Absolutely. And you talked a little bit about this.
And let me say this, the NFL draft.
Yeah.
When I first came in talking to the Roonies about why we as a city have never had the NFL draft, that was major to be able to get the NFL draft here. You know, we talk about building affordable housing, 12 low-income tax credit deals in 2 funding cycles, 18 in 3 funding cycles. Affordable housing bond for the first time to build more affordable housing. That's amazing. A comprehensive community plan to talk about how we rebuild the community as a whole. Other cities have done this a long time ago. We were slow to the case. The most diversified administration ever in the history of this city. The procurement modernization program, so that we could see contracts going to not just 97% white people, but also now we have, for the first time in the city, 3 African-American contracting firms, major contracting firms working on major contracting deals. Those are the things that bring change. Those are the things that make communities feel more welcome. The homeless situation, we didn't put nobody in jail. Now you don't see no more encampments downtown. Do we still have some homelessness? Yeah, we had that all along. But the reality is that you don't see any encampments downtown anymore. We made sure that we provide the safety that was necessary to put them in places to where they can have dignity and respect. Even on the trails, we didn't just remove them from the trails. We made sure we had places that we could put them. So partnering with the county and the 500 for 500, all those things make a difference when you talk about a region coming together to be able to fulfill the needs of the residents here and all communities. And yes, homelessness is a community because it's been here forever, and we need to see it like that. We need to see it in a way that shows the type of compassion that we want people to show us. Love is love, and what we deposit in is what we get to return.
Right, absolutely. And sir, you touched a little bit on this about how a lot of the work that we did, we collaborated, and often you speak about how powerful collaboration can be. Can you touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah, you know, so this city has a poison called working in silos. Yeah. Like other cities, you see work collaboratively across the board. We like to work in silos. Everybody wants to raise their hand and say, I, but I still haven't seen anything that got developed by I. All I know is that there's someone at the top that says I, but the reality it is we that built something, because you need everybody. And so my philosophy was a little bit different. We're going to collaborate with everybody who can make sure that we can, invest the proper resources in what we needed. A prime example is downtown. We partnered with Allegheny County, Stephanie Pash from Allegheny County on community development. The state, the county, everybody, Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership, Downtown Neighborhoods Association. We partnered with everybody because it was very important that we had everybody at the table. It was the first time that at a state level, they seen the private sector, the city, and the county come together on one accord for a plan. What was the reward of that collaboration? A $600 million investment into downtown Pittsburgh, 7 conversion projects, the ability to help out with the arts landing that the cultural district is doing. All those things make for a better downtown community. If downtown is our living room, it was clear that we had to invest in downtown, but we couldn't do it by being in a silo position.
Right.
We could only do it if we had the power of collaborative leadership. And so that was a little bit difficult because that had never happened before. But we brought the right people together that understood that in order to get there, we had to work together. And that's what occurred. And so that's what I mean by collaborative leadership. Collaborative leadership builds power. And when you build power, you speak for the region, because now you're doing things that have an impact in the region. We had never in the history of the city had a deal of $600 million coming downtown. Come on, led by the mayor's office. That's remarkable. You know, the NFL draft, that's remarkable. You know, we're talking about things that had not been done. You know, city in the streets, the collaborative leadership of every department to be out in these neighborhoods and be closer to the people made people feel like they understood that government was working for them. Some of the comments that we got back from City in the Streets on that collaborative effort was the fact that, wow, you know, I didn't really know what Domi did. I really didn't know who was in charge of the Department of Public Works. I really had the opportunity to talk to the Director of Parks and Recreation, making the community understand government is powerful. Yeah. It's powerful. And for all those departments to collaborate, even the departments talking about, I have a better relationship now. Because in this city government, everything is siloed. Yeah. But at the end of the day, City in the Streets took us to a whole new perspective, a whole new perception about what we could do collaboratively. Yeah. And we did that. And so let's talk about City in the Streets and what it accomplished. Everywhere we had City in the Streets, we were able to accomplish something that neighborhood wanted. That's number one. Number two is we had departments working together for the first time ever in order to ensure that the community knew who they were. That's number two. And number three, which was the biggest part for me, was it brought community together. Yeah. It brought people out in the community. You know, even when we did the Youth Civic Leadership Academy, come on. When I was a kid, I never met one politician in the city. I never had a politician knock on my door. I never had a politician have a neighborhood meeting in my neighborhood. They didn't do none of that stuff. When we created, and I want to thank Youth Enrichment Services, Dr. Floyd, when we created that program, and I want to thank Partners for Work for paying them a stipend, CCAC for giving the kids 3 credits to learn about city government in a way that exposed them to a higher quality of life, that exposed them to what they can be when they grow up. And when you see all the kids that went through that program and all the artwork that they did, all the projects that they did, learning what government meant, they don't have to worry if they've ever met a mayor, a city council, a department leader, or anybody else. They know that they met those leaders. They don't have to worry about if they know what an urban redevelopment authority is, even if they don't get the overall view of what URA does. At the end of the day, they were able to get a concept of what it did. So when you think about all that Youth Civic Leadership program did, it was amazing. Even when I had interns, we had paid interns in our office for the first time in a long time. For 2 paid interns to be able to walk around, talk about dare maintenance, talk about violence, talk about parks and recreation, talk about the budget. I had 2 kids out of West Council that told me, I have a different view of what politics is. Yeah. I have a different view of what government is. Because now that I've been here and I've been able to actually talk to a mayor, to be able to sit down and understand, and that shows you how divided our city was, right? In black and brown neighborhoods, they didn't see politicians or mayors. Yeah. I know, I grew up there. So they could never even think about being exposed to what they could be in life. Right. They had never seen prosperity of different cultures except for one. So a lot of what we broke down is the ability to demonstrate that, you know, it ain't where you from, it's not what color you are, it's how hard you work, it's the momentum that you put in to everything that you do. Look, let's just name it. You know, first ever African-American mayor, first chief of staff that was black, first as a communication director, first Caribbean press secretary, first chief of EMS that was black, first openly gay and black chief of police. When you think about all those major changes that we made, it brought communities into city government. Yeah. They didn't have a roadmap to city government. Even when we did the proclamations, bringing them into the mayor, you talking about people that's been involved in politics for so long and for the first time get to see a mayor's office. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. And what's powerful about that, we did all this coming out of a pandemic. We've had many mayors in this city, but we've had few mayors that had to lead coming out of a pandemic with no playbook about how to lead coming out of a pandemic. And we still turned on all the power in the city to ensure that everybody felt that they could be seen and not viewed. For so long, depending on what community you came from, you were only viewed. African Americans were only viewed in this city. They didn't have to be seen because they didn't hold positions of power in the public eye. Right. And because you didn't hold positions of power in the public eye, you could only be viewed and everybody was comfortable with that. But when you're seen, then everybody begins to ask questions about that. Right. There ain't never been a mayor that reduced homicides by what we've reduced homicides by coming into this office. The amount of affordable units that we delivered to this city, the NFL draft, the bridges, no bridges in failing condition. You know, Freedom House back, which is how EMS even got its start. So now you have Chief Gilchrist that creates the Freedom House Academy. So now young African Americans can understand that throughout this nation, there would be no emergency medical service if it wasn't for Freedom House. Right. That's part of history that people need to know. Yeah. And they wouldn't have known unless we occupied this office. Yeah. And so I'm very excited about all that we've done, because it changes the narrative. And so for me, for Ad Gainey, it's a little bit different, right? You know, even when you talk about the right to know requests, we had over 300 and something right to know requests every single quarter. Yeah. We've had more right to know requests than any administration in the history of this city. Now, is that harassment? In my eyes, you could call it harassment, but here's the beauty of that. Since they wanted to do that, here's the beauty of that. Over 1,200 right to know requests in 1 year, and through my course as mayor, never a scandal. Yeah.
Now, you touching on that, sir, I have to ask you, everyone with the right to know, and a lot of people out there say this administration is not transparent. Explain that. How is it that all these right to know are filed? You talk about the collaborations where this administration is not working in silos. You have brought so many people in, but yes, your administration is not transparent. How is that?
You know, I mean, I'm not going to speak to their motive, right? Because it would be wrong of me to speak to a motive. And I think that if somebody wanted to know that, they would have to ask them what their motive was. But for me, I'm happy.
Why?
Because here's why. I understood the dynamic when I took office. As being the first African American mayor of this city, I understood that there were certain things from a racism point of view, from a classism point of view, that I was going to have to deal with. A black mayor from East Liberty, Lorimer, and Homewood, family from the Hill, becoming mayor from a poverty-stricken area in which we were never seen, only viewed. So I knew coming in I was going to have to deal with all that. I remember I had a reporter, and you was there when I was on KDKA News, tell me, how do I like the fact that they don't like me because I'm black? And I told him, I've been black my whole life. You know, being black in this city is something that I grew up in, so I understand the covert racism that exists here, and I'm not mad about it because I'm not scared to have conversations about racial situations. I don't think a country or a society or a city can heal without having those uncomfortable conversations. Right. And so for me, I always knew how they viewed me, but they had never seen me, so I have always seen them. So I had the upper hand because I knew how you would come at me. You just didn't know how I would respond to you. You had no idea how I would respond to you. you thought I would respond in anger. The same KDKA person that said that said, yeah, hey, listen, let me be honest. The DA said that he gonna get you. Well, okay, I couldn't tell you why he would say that. But what I'm gonna tell you is that I'm not a guy that was in trouble, so I'm not here to do trouble. I'm only here to do good. I'm only here to create a situation where the city can see at the end of the day that you could be whatever you wanna be. I'm not gonna waver nor run from that. I'm going to demonstrate it, and I'm going to represent to the best of my ability. And I'm going to let my work speak for me, understanding the adversity that I'm going to have to go through. But like I told myself first before I told my team, fall in love with adversity. It's the only way you grow up. And so the adversity, I'm not saying some days it wasn't painful. Of course it is. I'm human. But it never got to the point where the pain stopped me or prevented me from going forward. It was just something that I had to deal with in life in order to make sure that the next person that looked like me don't have to go through the same type of struggles that I had to go through. And I understood that because I understood American history. Any person that was an African American that for the first time had to go through this. So what made me any different? What would make me feel that I was going to be any different than any other African American who was the first that had to go through this before he could be accepted? I couldn't back down from that. I couldn't. Matter of fact, I had to fall in love with it. But what they didn't understand, I fall in love with that since I was a child because I always had to deal with it. My grandmother was the second black family on Lawn Street in Oakland. The N-word was hurled at her and my mama and my uncles every day. And she still stayed there to help build a building called the Center where everybody go. You know what I mean? So I ain't never been in a situation where at the end of the day, I haven't had to experience some level. I went to schools where the N-word was written on walls. And so every day I went in that school, I had to see that. And back then, I may not have been able to tell you why I had to go through that. But now that I can fast forward and I'm here today, I understand why I had to see that and experience that in order to be prepared for this. So for me, it's not about, it's the beauty of it, right? It's the beauty of it. You can't have love without pain. And so you can't have beauty without things that are ugly. The catch is, how will you allow it to impact you? And that's where the whole notion of I go first came from. See, I'm going to go first. So there ain't no question where I'm at. Me going first was always to put me on the line. I never asked my staff or my lieutenants to do something that I would not do. I go first. We're going to make sure that we build bridges in every community, even for those that can't see because they blind to the fact of their own biases, because they don't know them, because they never looked in the mirror and subjected themselves to how they really felt. So we're going to go first. We're going to build the fabric. We're going to build bridges. We're going to build relationships with all those who will receive us. They have called me everything from the preacher to a thug to a gangster to an organizer to a progressive to a lefty. They've called me everything except for the elected official who I am, the mayor. 1,200 right to know requests. I'm not a mayor that stayed at a bar every night till 2 in the morning. I'm not a mayor who partied at bars all night long. I went home to my family. But yet I get 1,200 right to know requests. That's beautiful, not painful. That's beautiful. Because to put me under a microscope like that and find nothing, I thank God for the opportunity. Because without him, I couldn't excel nor show the world who I am.
So in that same vein, sir, with the media, their coverage of your administration, would you say that shaped the perception of your administration's work and who you are as a leader in a positive or negative way?
I think you'd have to ask the people that. I think for the people, listen, advertisement buys media. I get it, I know it quite well. There was a lot of people that didn't appreciate the job that we did because we didn't cater to power. We came to serve the people as I said we would. So I never really worried about how the media wanted to portray me. I had one tell me I was mugging the camera, you know? And everybody in the city knows that mugging the camera, particularly African American, but they playing on a word, but they told me it was some journalistic, whatever they called it. But if you really, but let's just talk about the value, street value of mugging. Mugging is always a picture that's taken when you on your way to jail. Mugging is when they put a picture of you and they put the worst picture of you up talking about what you've done. So when you say mugging and you put that in your article, for you not to say that you don't know what you're doing is irresponsible. But we still move past that. And how did we get to that? Because I told them. I thought that was slanted towards a racial slur. Because at the end of the day, I ain't never heard you say anybody else was mugging the camera. There ain't one other elected official out there that you said was mugging the camera. Yeah. But those are the things that I knew I would go through. So when you ask me how do I feel about the perception of how the media painted me, they painted me the way they were supposed to, as being the first African-American mayor. I wasn't asking for no special privilege. I was asking for an opportunity to demonstrate that no matter what color you are, where you come from, you have an opportunity to make a difference in this city. And that we are building a city for all, not to be viewed, but to be seen. Because if I can demonstrate to you to see me in action, making the changes, creating policies, changing systems, and everything else, whether the media covers it or not is insignificant. Who believes the media for all that they say? I wonder where wisdom plays today. Because there's never been a mayor that they wrote so negatively about that had no scandals.
Noted, sir. Noted.
And with many accomplishments.
And many accomplishments.
Yes, sir. But one of the things that you touched on, and I think it was so powerful, and I got to observe this on many occasions, when people come in for proclamations or different things like that, you always welcome them into your space. Why was that so important for you?
Yeah, actually I learned that in Harrisburg. Okay. As a state rep. The one thing about the West is we hadn't brought a lot of people from our community to Harrisburg to be honored on the House floor for the great accomplishments that they provided. And when I was a state rep, I wanted to change that. Mm-hmm. Philly did. Philly was always bringing people up there. I said, look, I come to go get it for real. So we brought a whole lot of people up to Harrisburg. I mean, to honor them for the work that they did. So when we came here, we didn't stop. But we had to make something attractive, right? Well, most people have been in politics for a long time, but had never stepped into the mayor's office. And so all this time that they've worked for many, many politicians all across the board, and all you do is get a word that says thank you, but no deed that shows thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, I just didn't want to say the word thank you, because that's what the rest of them did. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to show you the deed called thank you. Mm-hmm. So let me bring you into the taxpayer's house, the house of the mayor, and let you see the mayor and sit in the mayor's chair and take pictures. I wanted to see the pride of the day. Yeah. Grandmas that's been working in the community their whole life, but never seen the mayor's office, but gave sweat, money, and time to get an elected official elected. Mm-hmm. They deserve the right to be in here. They've earned it through the years. Mm-hmm. Community leaders that have done the work that we said needed to be done for years. And all they would get is a thank you. Nah, come let me honor you in a way that shows you are appreciated. Those all mean something. It means something. Homewood Field, a new completely done field in Homewood. I brought back money from the state and completed it as the mayor. Mm-hmm. A state-of-the-art football field that the same type of turf the Steelers play on. Mm-hmm. See, those are the things that bring value and add beauty and to let a child know that you can make a difference in your neighborhood. Yeah. We always done that because it was important. Mm-hmm. $50 million development to do Bedford dwellings. Building new homes all up and down Bedford Avenue. Bedford here in the Hill and everywhere else in the Hill. Working with Beacon Construction, Mike Polite and them, to do conversions downtown, to do a new Lecce school in the Hill District. Showing something new. You know, if you believe you can achieve, but you got to be exposed to that quality of life. That's what it's about.
When you talked about it a little bit, sir, about going first. And your idea of how important it is for this administration and you yourself to go first. Why was that so important for you to install in this administration the idea and the purpose of going first?
Because most mayors don't put it on the line. When I worked for the Murphy administration, they was known to put it on the line. Every day they got up, you know they was going to bring that A game. And so you can't do that unless you go first. And in order to go first, you got to put yourself on the line and be comfortable. And for me, as the first African-American mayor, how beautiful is that? To go first and put yourself on the line, you know, so that no one can't say they don't see your work unless they're being manipulated to say they can't see your work. And even there, you can't allow that to define you. You have to let your work build you. Because the work that we put in me going first gives me the ability to have the wisdom that's necessary to be able to continue to grow in life, not just in the job as mayor, but in life. You know, so me going first, no one could question where I was at. No one could question where my heart was at. No one could question where my mind was at. No one could question what my personality is. That's why they couldn't define me. You can't define those that go first because they're always in the spotlight. So you can call me whatever you choose to call me. Whatever makes you feel good about who you are, call me. But the reality is, since I go first, you can never define the one that defines himself. And I'm always going to be one that defines myself. Don't get it twisted. Of course, I'm scared of the unknown, but I've never had fear to walk that way. I've never allowed myself of being scared of anything to paralyze me with fear. I just never have. Because who was I going to run to? Who was I going to run to? I'm the firstborn. Who was I going to run to? Who I could run home, but running home, who there? Who there? I ain't got no older brothers. I got to handle it. So let me go first.
You know, sir, you talked a lot earlier about the difference between being seen and being viewed. And for those out there who don't know, the mayor will literally walk up and down the halls greeting every single person in their office. And this is not just for show. This is something he literally practices and does. Why is it so important to you to really make people be seen?
Yeah.
And let me say this before he answers. When he spoke to me about being seen and being viewed, he particularly talked about Black women being seen and being viewed, and the difference of it, especially with so many of us working in this office.
So I'm trying to make sure I be a little cautious on this answer. So I'm gonna use me. So that way, you know, I don't offend anybody. I'm gonna use myself. A lot of times, minorities are viewed. Like when I first started here, it had been brought to my attention that somebody thought that I put too many Black people on my Facebook page. And, you know, that really like struck me, to be honest, because I'm like, The same thing you say you want to see in regards to diversity is the one thing now you come and ask me to hide. See, you don't mind if I put African Americans and Latinos on my Facebook page, once a quarter or once a month, because then it can be viewed, but really not seen. So you don't know about their accomplishments. You don't know about the things that they do to help improve their community, how they love their family. You don't talk about the fathers that's out there unless it's negative. So you view us from a different lens than who we are. I worked for 2 administrations. Most people never knew who I was because they viewed me. They never saw me. And so for me, when I became mayor, I knew I went from being viewed to being seen, because you can't hide because I'm the leader of the city. You have to see me now even if you don't want to. You can't view me now even if that's all you want to do. You have to see me every day. And so every day I'm going to be seen from a city that only viewed us. And so now I get to do something that has never been done and make sure that everybody is seen. I don't care if you was white, black, Latino, LGBTQIA, it didn't matter who you were. I was going to make sure everybody got seen. Because what type of discrimination did I want to display by making sure only certain people got seen? Got viewed. And that there's only a certain population that you want to be seen. They could check the media for that. It's widely held and widely known. And so I made sure not just that African Americans and Latino, but white people, everybody got seen. Because it was important to me. With black women, it was different. But I've read a lot of reports in my lifetime in this city. I had to and understand it all. And the reality is, in reading these reports, like every report, they tell you how you can get better, right? They focus on the strength and they tell you how you get better. In this city, when it came to minorities, there was never a strength. They said the city was the worst place ever in America for black women. But how many black women had to leave in order to have an opportunity because the opportunity wasn't open here? How many black women got put in jobs and weren't even looked at for promotion because of the color of their skin? You don't have to believe me, just show me where you have a black middle class neighborhood. Show me. Show me. Show me in 2025, show me. Show me. But we create all these reports as if we're a liability. I'm a liability for nobody. What I need is the opportunity to show you I can shine. And so when I became mayor, that's what I did, not just for blacks, but for everybody. We had the most diverse administration in the history of this city. And a lot of people in certain positions didn't like that. They didn't like that because it's not what they was used to. And even the ones that said that we should be there and that this is what we should do was only comfortable in regards to talking about it, never about being about it. And you don't have to believe me. Look at the procurement process and how many contracts are going to minorities. You don't have to believe me. Look at their executive team and see how many African Americans, Latinos, or LGBTQA is in those executive teams. You don't have to believe me. Look at the board or the editorial boards and see how many people of the minority classes on their boards or on their editorial boards. Look at them. I met with every editorial board in this city, and it was all white except for one. And that one only had one African American. You understand what I'm saying? So how you writing a story about me with nobody that look like me in your editorial room? What you gonna say about me? What you gonna say about me? How you was raised to believe who I am? Because you don't know me. You had a choice to grow up in a community that didn't have anybody or one or two that looked like me. I was blessed to live in communities where we had to live with all people. So what you took as a privilege, I took as a blessing. Because it gave me ability to respect everybody and learn. Like, it's like somebody walking up to me. This used to always blow my mind. It still blows my mind. I don't see color. Who is you talking to? Who is you talking to?
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't see color? See, right then and there, you're using that as your shield to protect you for what you believe. Because it's impossible not to see color. You're blind. The only way you don't see color is if you're colorblind. You see color every day. So why lie to me? Why lie to me? What, you think that make me feel good? Or you say you don't see color because you want to demonstrate how you treat all people, but you just lied to me, but you want to demonstrate how you treat all people. You understand what I'm saying? I can see black, white, Latino, Asian, whatever. I'm still going to treat you the same. Because it's not based on your color, and it's not based on me lying and saying that I'm colorblind. But it's based on me as a human being saying that I'm going to respect everybody I see. But you can walk in this city and you can look at executive teams, you can look at management teams, you can look at editorial boards, you can look at boards of, and you're not going to see, if you see one, you see none. You can't change the scope of any city unless a diversity is at the table. Don't tell me you believe, show me. Show me. And many couldn't show, so how did they really view me? As somebody they just didn't want to see. So when you ask me how the media plays me, and I know what the editorial board looks like, all I can do is give them the best of me and let them paint me the way they wanted to paint me. Because at the end of the day, there was no one that looked like me that was going to write about me. There was no one that looked like me that was going to report about me. And none of that is fiction, that's fact. Check it for yourself.
So how did the idea of being seen versus being viewed, impact of how the government, the context of the government, of how you saw the departments and the roles of the directors and the chiefs and the Indians, as they would say, the people below them, that diversity in that aspect?
No, I seen them all. I didn't see them all just by saying I see them. You know, when you walk in that door, you speak to them. When you walk in that door, you ask them how they doing. When you walk through that door, you ask, can you help them? But the other part of that is I got to see them. There are some departments that never wanted to change because they always did it that way. And so they were so stuck in institutionalized behavior that they didn't even know that they were part of the problem that could never be a solution. Because the only thing they wanted to do was the way that they always did it, because that's what made them feel comfortable, and they really wasn't trying to benefit the city. They just wanted to benefit themselves in a position that they became stagnant in, and status quo don't grow, but you want to remain in that position even though your mindset is already set on the fact that you don't want no growth. Right. You don't want no growth. You comfortable doing it the way you always doing it, even though you're inefficient. You're not effective. But you comfortable with that. Then you'll tell me you love the city and you want to be able to demonstrate that you love the city through your work, but your work ain't even moving. You still doing it the same way you always been doing it because you don't want to change the way you did it because it's more work for you. Those are the mindsets that I didn't appreciate. Because you ain't even been through nothing to tell me what you can and cannot do. You ain't been through nothing. You just have no ability to want to grow. So your whole skill set and your mindset will grow old, but you will never grow up.
So you brought about a seismic shift. Your administration brought about a seismic shift in the culture in city government. How did you think that was possible?
I didn't.
You didn't think it was possible?
Nah, I didn't. I didn't. And if I'm being honest, you know, I can sit up here and be fake, but I didn't, but we did. And I think it was just that right there, go first. I went and visited every police zone and major crimes in this city. That's the first time they said that they had a mayor, and I'm supposed to be the mayor that was supposed to come and defund the police. We opened up the police academy. First time in over 20 years, we had a contract with the police with disciplinary matrix. And so just using the police as an example, I wanted to talk to them. I made it my business to go talk to the police. I made it my business to hear them. I made it my business to go to the Department of Public Works. Every Department of Public Works I went to go visit. I made it my business that after snowstorms to go talk to them and let them know. I made it my business to tell them that I would never humiliate them in public. I would never get on the news and humiliate Department of DOMI. I promised never. DOMI did some of their best work. Department of Public Works did some of their best work with outdated equipment because they hadn't been invested in. No one had invested in them over 15 years. The police department, homicides down like they are. Come on. Come on. Arrests being made. Come on. So when we talk about changing the culture, you talking about changing culture like that. Culture that hadn't been changed. Culture where they were used to being the whipping boys, the whipping girls. Change that culture. It's amazing. Making Chief Gilchrist, first African-American chief of EMS. Listen. In an emergency medical service that was birthed out of a black district called the Hill, where most of the people who participated in Freedom House in the Hill looked like me, only to come to the city and not look like me at all. But it was birthed out of the Hill district. So don't tell me there wasn't people that didn't want to be paramedics or EMTs. Hey, there was. If they was in the Hill, they exist. Tell me why they wasn't let in.
And just to clarify, sir, Chief Gilchrist didn't become chief and become the first African-American to lead that department because she was a black woman.
No, she had 24 years experience. She was a student of it. But you know, I mean, like that's whenever you elevate to that level, they want to stigmatize you.
Yeah.
They want to talk about DEI and that you got it about a DEI. But let's look at it. Let's look at that for a minute, right? You had a emergency medical service department that is in the city, birthed out of Freedom House, that was the originator in the Hill. But over 70% or 75% of the people that work in EMS are not black. Even though Freedom House was birthed in a black district. So you want to call her DEI. What happened to all the ones that wanted to be paramedics that look like me that didn't get in? Because they didn't have the right skin color. Is there WEI? Is that segregation? Is that racism? So why stereotype me? Why? Why do I gotta be stereotyped when the place that saved lives was birthed out of a district that looks like me, but most of the people in EMS right now don't look like me? Why? Why?
And that's why it was important that Chief Gilchrist came up with the new program,
Freedom House Training
Academy. Yep. And through the Training Academy, it makes it even more possible for EMTs to come on board regardless of skin color, because she did not do it just for Black people. She did it for everyone.
But look what she has to go through.
Yes.
You know, what they said, she was darkening up the academy. She was, you know, I mean, like, that's the beauty of the job. You understand where I'm coming from? You can call me all the names that you want to call me. You can stereotype me in all the ways that you choose to stereotype me. But you can't take away what we've accomplished. Yeah. You can't. Mm-hmm. You can't. So I don't worry about that. And even with Chief Gilchrist, she's walking through that. And she's doing it in a wonderful example of what leadership looks like. Mm-hmm. And she knows color, but she knows people.
So you talk about, you know, the different things that we've been able to accomplish collectively. But from a personal standpoint, mm-hmm. are there any skills or things that you feel like you've developed or sharpened during your time personally as mayor?
Oh, no question. I mean, there's too many to name. There's too many names. You know, I got, you know, my number one saying is don't abort my lessons. You know what I mean? I love my lessons. I look at my scars every day and thank God. Because you can't climb to the top of the hill without scars. Climb the next hill, you're gonna get some more scars. You know, so I think some of the biggest lessons I learned was, one is decision making. 2 is greater accountability. 3 is, and this is probably the hardest one, not being too hard on yourself. Ooh. You know, because I think that sometimes, for me, for Ed, that I could be real hard on myself because of what I didn't see or catch. And so I get angry when people say, well, you can walk in the room, you can handle the tempo, you can see it fast, and then there's things that I didn't see. And I used to get real upset with myself about the things I didn't see. But some things I wasn't supposed to see in order for them to become my lesson. Right. You see, I was under the belief that I should see it immediately. Not that it was the lesson that was mine for me to learn. That's why I keep telling y'all, without a problem, you have no promise. So I was not aborting my lessons, but I was aborting my promises because I was too hard on myself to understand that the lesson came to sharpen my vision. So I can see even when my vision is blurred. You see what I'm saying? And you can't sharpen your vision unless you have problems that you didn't see that came to teach you a lesson to get to the promise. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that one was always difficult for me because it showed I didn't have any balance. You see? Mm-hmm. Like I didn't have no balance. And some of that comes from knowing the microscope that I was going to be under. Mm-hmm. Some of that comes from knowing that I would be seen differently than any other mayor to sit in that chair. Some of that would be because of the stereotypes they would want to lay at me so that they could feel good about how they describe me. Made me always want to see quickly and accurately. But no executive can do that. The greater the executive, the better the lesson. And so I had to remember that the name of the game is to be a student for life. And thank God for the lessons that he's showing you so that you can sharpen your eyesight and that your third eye can see. It took me a long time to get there. But a lot of it had to do again with childhood pain. A lot of the pain of my childhood. I had to overcome that. So there's many different times that I had to overcome some things in order to understand why. And I think that's the difference for me. It's hard. It really is. It's hard because I don't have mentors that others have had that I can go run to and talk to and try to discover the best way to move forward. It's what I said earlier, who I'm gonna run home to? Who I'm gonna run home to? Who am I gonna run home to? So I had to figure it out on my own. And that's why I've had to learn, which is the hardest lesson for me, is how to give myself grace. Because I don't. So I'm having to learn how to give myself grace in order to not abort the lesson. Because if you don't give yourself grace in the midst of the storm, then you can't see the lesson, so you abort it. So that means I got to climb that mountain again, and I'm going to see that lesson again. Because I didn't give myself enough grace to appreciate what I was being shown. Those are the things that I've had to deal with under the type of pressure that I've had to deal with.
Well, sir, it's been said that you're not a politician. You're a man who works in politics. Did you experience a great shift in political treatment from your time as a state rep to when you became mayor?
Oh, no question. No question. As a state rep, I was seen, I was viewed, not seen. I come out of an African-American district. Of course there's gonna be black state reps. They'll be viewed. But when you're the mayor, you're seen. So of course there's a shift. There has to be a shift. Because now you're gonna be on the front page every day. You're gonna be on the news every day. People get to see you every day. The decisions have to become quicker. The agenda has to be made. You know, as a state rep, you're more or less in an advocacy role. You're a cheerleader. But when you come to the mayor, you're an executive, and you got to make executive decisions.
And do you believe of what's being said, that you are a man in politics and not a politician? And what would that mean to you to be said, for it to be said that you are a man in politics, you're not a politician?
I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't know because I don't know how to define it. I'm at Gainey all day, every day. You see what I'm saying? I'm at Gainey. I carry many titles, but the title for life is at Gainey. And so I'm at Gainey every day, regardless of what my title may be, regardless of how anybody see me. I'm at Gainey. You know what I'm saying? And I told people that from the beginning. I'm at Gainey. You know what I mean? Don't no title make me or break me. You understand what I'm saying? I know who I am. And I never got high off the title. I'm at Gainey. I ain't need to get high off nothing but at Gainey.
Gotcha.
For real, for real. You know what I'm saying? Like from where I come from to where I am today, what else could I be but grateful? What else could I be for Ed Gainey but grateful? You feel me? You understand? Like, I don't have no ill will. I don't have no hatred. That's why when you ask me how do I deal with how media and others and the amount of right to know requests, how do I feel about that? If I'd allowed that to make me bitter, they win. But it's hard to take the smile off my face. Because where I come from, they smile for less. You see what I mean? They smile for less. And they smile for me for being one that could stand in the fire and come out a better version of who I am. That's not a title. I said come out a better version of who I am. That's Ed Gainey.
And Ed Gainey, you wear a lot of titles outside of mayor. You are son, your husband, your father, your grandfather. How would you say that you managed to balance your responsibilities as mayor and your personal life during this time? Was it hard?
Yeah, yes, it was very hard. Listen, there's a cost for greatness. And so I'm not gonna sit there and pretend that there hasn't been certain costs in my life. There's a cost for greatness. And so I've tried as hard as I could to balance things to the best of my ability. Because I know how important it is to be a husband, and I know how important it is to be a father. But I've fallen short in many areas. I've fallen short in being a husband, I've fallen short in being a father. Because the amount of time I had to put into the cost of being great. And so there's always injuries that come with that. Not intentional, but just the cost. And you always have to be cautious about that. So you try to balance it the best way you can. With the hope that understanding is present. Because this requires a great deal of your time. It requires a great deal of preparation. It requires a great deal of decision making. So it requires a great deal of time. A lot of friends that I have, and I love them and they love me, I haven't been able to see them like I want to see them. Because I couldn't spend the time that I'm used to spending because of the cost. I've tried to make sure that all my kids' events, I make them. But there's sometimes I couldn't make them because of the cost. There's times that I like to spend more quality time with my wife, but I couldn't because of the cost. Now, that's not to say that I didn't spend a lot of time across the board, but I don't have a 9 to 5 position. You have to choose this life. And whatever you choose in life comes with a cost. where I come from, I've seen people choose life at a cost. My cost in life opened up doors. My cost in life gave my family benefits. My cost in life made a 15-year-old mother feel proud. My cost in life took me from a place that most have not excelled in to excelling in. See, that's the cost of being great. There's a cost that you manage the best way you can, and there's a cost that opens up doors. Both of them come with the cost of what you choose to do in your life. So it's just not about the cost of being an elected official. You know, there's a cost for whatever you do. And I know that quite well. And I'll always fall short in whatever I do. And that's the thing about giving yourself grace. Because I'm never going to be, one, I don't believe in perfection. I believe in excellence. Excellence comes with mistakes. Perfection comes with idealism. To be excellent is to understand that you need mistakes to make you whole. Understand excellence, then you understand why you have to pay the cost. Perfection is a liar. Excellence is the truth. And in excellence, then you always realize that you're going to fall short. There'll never be a time that you don't fall short in whatever you do in life. The only one that doesn't realize that is the one that believes in the lie. They believe in perfection. I believe in excellence. That's why I used to tell my team, don't run from your mistakes, learn from them. This is where I was a hypocrite to my team. Give yourself grace while you make mistakes. When I would sit on that couch and be cussing myself out, you understand, like, how did I see that? What was I thinking? What I can't comprehend. Because sometimes you don't see what you accomplish in the midst of it. So I created something in this office that most didn't know until I told them. Most employment centers, regardless of where you work at, always see themselves falling short. Reason being is because they always want to tell you about the problems. So that means that all they see is the problems. So I started saying, tell me something good. And I would be amazed at how many people couldn't tell me something good about their life. You understand what I'm saying? So you could tell me about the problems of your life, but you can't tell me nothing good about your life. Huh? What's your cost? What's your cost? Huh? You can't see nothing good about your life. Huh? That means you can't see nothing good about your work. So how you gonna serve the city? If you can't see nothing good about you, you can't see nothing good about the city. Yeah. Tell me something good. They would hesitate and try to figure out what is good. Wow. You gotta stop, hesitate, and ask yourself what is good. Huh? And you ready for work? I got people that got stage 4 cancer can tell me something good. And they're in a serious situation. But they find something to be grateful for. They find something to be grateful for. And we walking around so problem driven that we can't see a promise of a better tomorrow because we couldn't even see nothing good in us. Just come in and tell me about the problems. We all got problems. Show me a person who ain't got a problem. I'll show you somebody that don't exist. The question is, are you thankful for the problem? Huh? Not that you don't have a problem. Are you thankful for the problem? Because without it, you can't have a promise.
Well, sir, with that said, you ran a couple of times before you finally became mayor. With the balance of all the stuff that you talked about, do you regret becoming the 61st mayor of the city of Pittsburgh?
No, I don't regret it. No, I don't regret it. I don't regret it. It's the lessons. It's the lessons. So, say I didn't get the lessons from being the 61st mayor, I got the lessons from somewhere. You see what I mean? Like, I got the lessons from somewhere. So, what beauty it was to put on my lessons for the whole city. What beauty it was to show up every day with a smile on my face. What beauty it was when you hear your enemy say they're gonna take that smile off your face. We gonna get you. And you still smiling. What beauty it was when they say, oh, he won't come on my show because he know I'm gonna ask him the hard questions. I wanna ask him questions he don't. What beauty it was for me to show up and take over the whole show. What beauty it was to go in the neighborhoods that said they don't want me in those neighborhoods. What beauty is that? That's beautiful. That is beautiful. You see, that's the embodiment of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. That's the embodiment of it. To not worry about how people view you, but to go show them who you are. You see, and go with a smile on your face, regardless of how they're gonna receive you. Doesn't matter how they receive you, it only matters how you see yourself. And know that I'm trying to be cool here. Knowing that their perception of you is not based on them knowing who you are. It's based on what they see. Because now they got to see something they ain't never seen before.
This administration, under your leadership, made a point of investment in neighborhoods that had not seen historically investments for years. Why was it important for this administration and for you to do that?
So they could be seen. So that they can know that someone cares. And the beauty of it is what we've done in 4 years. And that's the key. Build a city for all. You know, you build a city for all. There should never be a time as a city administration, no administration doesn't want to invest, particularly in underserved neighborhoods. It has a direct relationship or correlation with homicides. If all I see is poverty every day, yeah, that's a city's problem. That's a city problem. That's a city problem. Because that means public investment don't live there. You know, so it's a city problem. And so you can't reduce homicides if you're not employing people from different neighborhoods. It's a choice. You can't have hope in neighborhoods if your whole executive team looks like yourself. You can't. And so it's a city problem, not a government problem. It's a city problem. Because no one wants to stay in a city where they don't see their own culture. I was asked a question from a couple business people in the city, and they knew the answers already because we talked about it, about why young people don't stay here and why black people don't stay here, why other ethnic groups don't stay here. Show me a city where they don't have their culture invested inside the fabric of the city, and I'll show you a place that minorities and young people won't stay. You have to create the fabric. We started that here, there's no question. There's no question.
So you're leaving the city in a better place than you found it?
There's no question.
1,000%.
There's no question. There's no question, and there's no question. No one can question that. No one can question that. They can manipulate that. They can put their own spin on that. But some of the indicators of a city, one is homicide, 2 is diversity, 3 is investment. We have examples across the board on that. So that's what I mean about people will use their own interests to create their own narrative about you. But if you don't know who you are, then yeah, they can define you. But I kept telling them, I'm at Gainey, Community Development Specialist title. I'm at Gainey, State Representative title. I'm at Gainey, Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh title. The common denominator in all that is at Gainey. It's who I am.
And that is exactly who you will be remembered to be. Sir, thank you.
I thank you.
Thank you for your
Let me ask y'all a
contribution.
question.
Oh, no.
How, you know, I'll start with what you said. Being one of the youngest people to have to run the be director of comms in the midst of a whole shakeup and not having done this before at a citywide level and doing it for the first black mayor with all the media inquiries and all the negative hype around me and the media. How do you think you handled it in the position? And how do you feel about everything?
I love how this interview has become our interview.
I just asked the question. I mean, you know.
We cannot answer them?
She can answer.
No comment. No, I think I handled it to the best of my ability. I think we all handled it with such grace in class. And I'm proud of us for being able to do that. Certainly it was challenging, but I think more than anything, it developed so much in all of us, particularly myself. I know I can speak for. I think it just taught me how to be resilient in the face of uncertainty, in the face of things coming at you that you may not see. I mean, that's life. That's exactly how that's going to happen and how things take place. And so, if nothing, it taught us life. It taught us to always be prepared for the unexpected. Expect the unexpected, as they always say. I feel like I'm coming out of this a better, stronger person. And I thank you for that. I thank you for believing in me. I thank you for believing in all of us, because I'm sure there was times where we all wanted to throw in the towel, but I'd say it was your leadership that helped us not do that and to continue to get up every day and go get it as you required us to. I think that speaks volumes to your leadership, and so thank you.
How did it feel as a black woman in a city that has been difficult based on the reports of black women?
I felt seen. I was born and raised in this city and came back after being gone for some time, several degrees, and was unable to find employment and to even get in the door some places that I knew I was overly qualified for. So when I came and I had the opportunity to serve this administration, it was like, it was exciting. I was so happy to be able to not only serve alongside you, but to pour into my city and see that we were really trying to plant seeds that would make it so in the future there were other African American women who didn't have to encounter the struggle that I had to even just get their foot in the door. And so for me, that is the legacy that we leave behind, you know? Like you said, they can say whatever they want to say, but there are seeds that we planted that we have not even started to see the fruit be produced for yet. And I think this city will see in the years to come the fruits of the labor that we all poured into this time.
Olga, you coming from the private sector, the years you spent 29 at KDKA, coming into being the first African-American press secretary with a Caribbean background. How do you feel about that?
You know, we've talked about that a couple of times, and I've always reflected on how I should answer that, the best way to answer that. And the best way I can think of at this time is, like Sid said, we're being seen. We're not being viewed. Having this position, I finally had someone who said, I believe in your capabilities. You're not just one thing. I went from being one-dimensional to 3D in living color. And that's an opportunity, even working in an industry for years, getting that opportunity to move up, to be promoted, to have the chance to lead and not just be a boss, because there's a difference.
Major.
Both of us understand that. And we have a prime example in you of what a boss is compared to a leader. A boss tells you what you can't do. A leader tells you you can do and supports you in that role. So for me, being in this role is to be seen and be supported at the same time. Because sometimes you can be seen but not supported. Therefore, when you try to move forward and get things done and planting that seed, it's not possible. And having this ability, having that chance to be seen, be supported, and provide that example for people who look like me, who sound like me, that's a beauty.
Yeah,
That's a beauty.
That's powerful right there. Yeah. No, I asked that question because I mean, like, the interview was, you know, to hear what I had to say, but I think that is more powerful when you hear from people that actually worked in the fire. Like, you know, you asked me what I enjoy most was the fire. Like, there hasn't been an administration in this history that's been in more of the fire than us. Nah, it's documented. You can look at it.
Yeah.
And most would have collapsed right now. But I used to tell y'all that the fire is beautiful because it refines you. You understand what I'm saying? It refines you. You will come out a better person if you can take the heat.
I always say Pittsburgh is steel. We had the fire,
Yeah.
but in that fire, you purify the steel and it becomes stronger.
Yeah.
We are, in our strength, we also showed our flexibility and our ability to pivot. And that's why I'm so thankful for this administration. I'm thankful for you, sir, because under your leadership, women like myself and Cydney and all the other women in city government on this floor were seen, were heard, were recognized. You don't understand how important it is for the workers to understand that their leader sees them and takes the time to recognize them. Because sometimes all it takes is, good job, thank you, not micromanaging me, allowing me to make mistakes, pulling me in and say, you know you made a mistake here, what are we gonna do? Learn from the mistake and move forward, and not browbeat someone down for making that mistake, and giving them the opportunity to grow from that. Do you know how hard it is for some people to allow their workers, their staff, to grow, to truly grow, in the sense that I don't want someone overshadowing me, that idea that they're gonna overshadow them and that their accomplishments will diminish your accomplishment. And you're saying to us, our accomplishments uplift your accomplishment.
Absolutely. Ain't no question.
That's the beauty of being in this administration.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So now y'all can end it.
Sir, thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
This has been, you really got to see what life is like with us. But this has been an insightful conversation and an honor to just hear from you directly. I hope that all of you take something special away from this conversation.
Now, you know, this was a candid conversation. Nothing was pre-scripted at all. And I hope you see and understand the meaningful reflection of the Ed Gainey administration. We thank you for taking the time to hear from the Honorable Mayor Ed Gainey.
City of Pittsburgh, thank you, and I love you.